To scribe a post to stone, I use center lines. There's a number of ways to do it. This is my favorite. It's highly accurate and I think very precise. So I have a video on laying your center lines. Make sure you watch that one. This post is lined up with the stone precisely where it needs to be. Underneath this post is a crosshair. All the other stones on this foundation also have a crosshair. And the general premise is that the lines on these faces line up with those lines. And that's the same for every single post and every single stone on this foundation. Okay, another part of the setup are these two nails. These are to hold the plumb bobs. So you could come over here with levels and level the lines, but having plumb bobs is an easy visual reference to make sure that your timber is perfectly set up where it needs to be. One more part of the setup is going to be something like this, which is a heavier timber with a light piece of wood attached to it. And this is just tacked down with a little finish nail. And then I have the same exact thing up here, a finish nail that I tack on. And I use this and nail it to the timber so I can use it and twist it back and forth. That's pretty good. Okay. So now this timber is obviously much longer than what we need it for the foundation. This piece is probably going to be cut down to about over here with the tenon sticking up out of it. But this is just kind of the piece that I had lined out, so this is what we're using for now. Now I'm going to set up my plumb bob right here. As you can see, it's being held in place by these two shoes. Okay, so 2 plumb bobs. Alright, so there's 2 adjustments that we need to make here. One is that these lines have to match up with the lines that are drawn on the actual stone. And then the other adjustment is going to be at the top, or actually using the shoes, and it's going to be actually making these lines be plumb with the plumb lines. I like to get this one adjusted. Then I come in and do plumb. Good. Now, let's move the timber this way. Does that look good? There's 2 things that you need to get right, which is getting the post positioned correctly in relation to these crosshairs, and then getting it perfectly plumb. If you have to choose one over the other, it's getting it in the right location first. Then, when you come and do a secondary scribe, then you can get it plumb and level exactly where it needs to be. But getting the exact location is more important initially. Alright, the first thing that we're going to do is determine where the greatest offset is. So this gap right here, or this gap right here. And this is what we're going to be using to determine that offset. So right here, you can see, going straight down, probably to that point right here. So there's a pencil mark right there. Now we're going to see if it's any lower on that one. Nope. We're good. Okay, so now that we have the lowest setting that we can go to, we're going to be using that on all 4 corners. Now all I'm doing with this one is just setting the, call it reference points, 2 reference points. I could come in and make reference points down the middle. I could even do the whole scribing with this tool, but very likely it's gonna get caught and it's gonna kind of turn like that. So it's not a very good gauge for getting the scribe because it gets hung up. So once I'm done doing this, then I'll come back with a better tool to get that contour. Alright, so this is my favorite tool for getting the contour because it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a contour gauge used for getting whatever shape and then reproducing it somewhere else. So all these little teeth are unlocked and they move and slide freely. So all we're going to do is start at the edge, and I like to keep my finger here. When I set it down, I can come back up and have that right reference. So I'm going to come over here, push it down. I'm going to push on those teeth at the top, make sure that they make contact at the bottom. What matters is that those teeth at the end, that this side right here is flush to the timber, right? Okay, so now I'll lock it, and I'll bring it up to those 2 points. So there's that 1 point over here and the 1 point over here. So this is kind of where it's a little hairy. And hold it in place and trace your contour. And there you go. So we're gonna do this one. Now I'm gonna do that on all 4 sides. Alright, so once you're done tracing the profiles on all 4 faces, something that you can look at to check that you have a good scribe so far is that all 4 corners match up. So the line on this side and this side match up right here. The line on this side and that side come to a match as well, which they should because you did those offsets consistently on all 4 corners, right? The other thing that you're looking for is one clean continuous line. If you have something that has multiple lines like this, when you come in and try to take that away, you're just going to get confused and not know which one of these lines to actually take away. So one clean continuous line. If you don't have that, erase it and start again. And then one last thing before you take this post away is to mark the orientation. Most stones are unique enough that it'll tell you when you try to put the post down, but in some cases the stone will not have that many distinguishing features, so it's best to just label your timber north and go with that. So there's a number of ways to cut this to match that profile, but if you want to see how I do it, watch this video here.